Social order is beginning to break down in Italy because people don't have money, they're desperate, and they're hungry. And this is being reported by multiple news outlets. We have this from the AFP. Police with batons and guns have moved in to protect supermarkets on the Italian island of Sicily after reports of looting by locals who could no longer afford food. And this is where things start getting scary. I got a bunch of stories for you, man. Italy is a few weeks in front of us. Now, we're not necessarily going to be the same as Italy. They got a different social structure in many different ways. They are very similar to us. They're much more similar to us than China, for instance. China locked everybody down. But even in Wuhan recently, there was rioting because the people didn't want to be locked down in Wuhan. They weren't being allowed to cross this bridge into a different city. So they actually flipped a police car. And you got to understand how serious that is because China is an authoritarian dictatorship. The Communist Party detains people for saying the wrong thing or thinking the wrong thing. What do you think they would do to someone who flips a police car? These people are at their wits' end, and social order has begun to break down, even in a communist country like China. In Italy, it's much more sad. People have families. There are children. One story of a man saying his mother was begging for food, so he went to go take it by any means necessary, and the police had to stop him. If we're only a few weeks behind Italy, at what point do we start seeing the same thing? Unfortunately, the stimulus bill will not be enough. Hopefully it will. We don't know. But many people are saying it's not enough. Hospitals are facing shortages, and we are going to see hospitals overwhelmed. And if we do, then social order breaks down to a much more terrifying degree. Everyone wants to save their life and the lives of their friends and their families. And when it comes down to the threat to them personally, that's when you see things fall apart. I have personally witnessed at least one revolution in Egypt, but I've seen many different civil, moments of civil unrest. And I was reading a story about why people revolt. And one of the key factors is that food becomes less available. If the cost goes up and people can't afford food, what are they supposed to do? A person will not just roll over for the most part and die if they can't get food. They will go and take it. And that's what we're seeing now. Italy becoming impatient with lockdown and social unrest is brewing. Police descend on a supermarket after reports people have stolen food to feed themselves as patience turns to desperation. Videos have emerged of desperate people in Italy begging for help because they have run out of money and food. Well into its third week of the coronavirus lockdown, Italy is still seeing many hundreds of people dying each day. Progress in containing the COVID-19 spread is slow. Hope and patience are fading, and the economic cost is becoming ever more acute. In this photo, you can see a desperate man filmed shouting at a police officer. The strain is showing in the south of the country, where one man in Apulia reportedly called police after the bank closed and they couldn't withdraw his mother's pension, their only income. Footage shows him shouting at officers, telling them the family has no money. His mother is begging them to go to their home so she could show them they have no food. It's hard to watch. It's what desperation looks like. Another video has been shared around the country showing a father with his young daughter addressing the Italian prime minister saying, "It's already 15 to 20 days that we've been inside and we're at our limit." He gestures to his little girl who is eating a piece of bread and says, "Like my daughter, other children in a few days won't be able to eat this bit of bread. Rest assured, you will regret this because we're going to have a revolution." In Italy, a European country, not the same as us. But yes, when people can't get food. Now, many of you might not have children. Many of you may. And to those that do, you understand what this man means and just how close it may actually be to complete social upheaval. I assume most people can at least empathize or understand that when someone has a child and that child needs food or protection, they would lay themselves down on the landmine to save their kid. They would absolutely kick in a glass window and get the food their child needs. This is how humans have survived for so long. The willingness to sacrifice everything to save their children. When this man says, "My kid can't eat," he says there will be a revolution. Images have also emerged of police descending on supermarkets in Palermo in Sicily after reports people have started stealing to feed themselves. And groups have been set up in the last few days on social media to organize raids of supermarkets. Sky News was sent a video message of a man in Sicily with a gun, even offering to kill. The mayor of Palermo told Sky News crime gangs are exploiting people's hardship and inciting violence. He warns a social emergency is next. And do you know what comes after that? Martial law, complete military lockdown. Discomfort and malaise are growing, and we are recording worrying reports of protest and anger that is being exploited by criminals who want to destabilize the system. That's a government exaggeration. It is desperate people who are trying to get by any means necessary. And sure, they're criminals. Do they really want to destabilize the system? No. That's comic book villainy. What they really want is an opportunity to get access to resources. A person who's offering to kill or setting up groups for raiding supermarkets, they're not doing it because they're just twirling their mustache saying, haha, the end, we'll bring it. No, they're saying, how do I get food? How do I get shelter? How do I pay my bills? How do I take care of myself? Some people are criminals, and they'll say, I offer up my services. They don't want the system to destabilize. And in fact, most people, even villains, want the system to function so they get access to resources. It's about ensuring they get what they need. The more time passes, the more resources are exhausted. The few savings people have are running out. This tells us socioeconomic issues will erupt. Italy's Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte has made 25 billion euro available to support families and businesses affected by the lockdown. Some say they're still waiting for that help. Others don't qualify because their employment is not officially recorded. Italy has a big cash economy of unregistered workers. The large majority of this is in the south. The further south you go, the higher the level of deprivation and the higher the unemployment. While the virus hasn't reached the same crisis levels in southern Italy, hunger and hardship threaten to be even bigger problems. Italy is ahead of other countries in this outbreak, and unrest threatens to be the next chapter in this crisis. As the country struggles to bring the virus spread under control, the government has extended lockdown from April 3rd with no new deadline. Lockdown is the only solution to save lives. But in southern Italy, for many, it feels like it's threatening their very survival. This is why Donald Trump said, we need to reopen things, presumably by Easter. He wasn't saying it, at least in my opinion, because it's a guarantee. He's saying it because if people don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, then you get riots. Well, you get a market collapse followed by an irreparable situation. People need to know things will eventually work out. They need to say, we just need to wait this out until at least Easter. But doctors and the media want to rain on that parade. That stokes fear. Let's be honest. We may or may not open up on the 12th, our economy. It's possible Trump is just trying to give people hope and show there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It may be we have no choice but to open up. The possibility is there, though I lean towards, here's what I think will happen. I think by the 12th, Trump will do a press conference with Dr. Birx, maybe Dr. Fauci, and they'll say, we think we can open now, but as a matter of precaution, we're going to extend it one more week. Then a week will go by, and they'll say, everyone seems to be doing well. The market is doing well. So we all think that maybe just one more week. That way we can guarantee these excellent returns and the market will return to strength. They'll do it that way, in my opinion. We'll see what happens. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think that's what they might do because it'll keep people saying like, okay, one more week, but you can only do it a couple times. What if they came out and said, we have no idea when things will open up, maybe 2 years? People are going to be like, nope, F that. And that's crazy. Now, the media, they want discord. You want to talk about people who want to destroy and destabilize the society. It is the media. No matter what the president says, they just say it's wrong, it's bad, and they give people fear, and they're very pessimistic. Now, look, I'll be honest. I won't sugarcoat things for you, but I'll try and tell you to the best of my ability what's going on. I think Trump is doing a pretty good job. I think giving people hope and offering up the possibility we reopen things is a good thing. And it might not happen. But Trump himself said it may or may not happen. When it came to the medicine, he said it might or might not work, but people need hope. And the media tried to destroy that. And if people have no hope, you get this. They're not going to sit around waiting for their kid to go hungry. They're going to go and take it. And there's a lot of other scary stories. One we covered a few days ago. Hospitals consider universal do not resuscitate orders for coronavirus patients. It might also come down to the fact that your kid or your mother or whoever who's in the hospital will not be saved. If their heart stops, if their breathing stops, the doctor will just hold you back and say, no, we're not going to try. That's where we're close to. But we have already seen some draconian measures. Look, if you want to talk about locking down certain things, to stop the spread, don't go clubbing, don't go bowling, whatever, I get it. Why shut down gun stores? LA sheriff orders all gun stores closed amid coronavirus shutdown. What were they thinking? Well, it could be, as you see this huge line of Los Angeles, presumably not liberals, I don't know, Los Angeles residents lining up at a gun store. We have seen something truly amazing. In major urban centers, guns are being sold out, ammo sold out. People are buying up whatever they can. They're starting to realize perhaps you're going to need a weapon to protect yourself. Otherwise, you will be left out in the dust. For all of the people in these districts, in these cities and counties, whatever, that were voting to ban weapons, well, now you can reap what you have sown. The LA County Sheriff shut it down, so you won't get one. Now, fortunately for those urban liberals who were trying to buy a gun, your conservative Republican president just added firearms to the federal list of critical pandemic infrastructure. I do find it kind of funny because, to be honest, I don't think guns are critical infrastructure, but I do believe the stores should remain open simply based on the fact it is a constitutional right. And if that's the case, whether I think it's important or not, you can shut down things that aren't like, nightclubs and bowling alleys. But if people have a right to own weapons, the right shall not be infringed. You cannot shut down these stores. And I'll be fair. To an extent, there is a good critical infrastructure argument. It's home defense, it's self-defense, especially when police are overwhelmed. So it makes a lot of sense. But the stimulus package is not going to be enough, and that's where things get scary. We're going to see more draconian measures. We're already seeing in Rhode Island the National Guard going door to door, hunting down what they're they're actually calling them refugees from New York. New York, the epicenter of the pandemic. People are fleeing. I'll tell you what, man, I really, really do think this will get way worse. You know why? They told me this on the TV. The Surgeon General said it will get worse. Fauci, it will get worse. They are telling us every day. Trump's trying to give us hope. It's the right thing to do. But it's not a conspiracy. It's not paranoia to say it will get worse. Dr. Fauci to Jake Tapper, quote, looking at what we're seeing now, I would say between 100,000 and 200,000 cases of coronavirus, deaths. I mean, we're going to have millions of cases. This is going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Dr. Fauci is saying 100 to 200,000 dead. China is lying, and the UK thinks their numbers may be 40 times higher. It's kind of crazy that we had this meme about a pandemic coming because you have a pandemic every 100 years, and it happened. It's absolutely insane. But I'll tell you what, relief package billions can't buy hospitals out of shortages. This is why the economy must start up again. I don't know what you want. I don't know what you hope for. If we have the economy shut down, then people will die because the hospitals can't get what they need. Then people will start rioting because they can't work and they're hungry. And if you open the economy back up, people will die of this virus. Perhaps the only thing we can do is realize we can't control nature. And these things will happen. We can mitigate the damage. We can be smart. Here's the saying. You cannot change the direction of the wind, but you can adjust your sails. If a storm is coming, then, the storm is here. What are we going to do? Are we going to just lock everyone away in their homes for months or years? It's impossible. People will leave and they will go riot. They will kick doors in. You know why? Because their mother is hungry. Because their daughter is hungry. Because their son is hungry. Their grandfather, their father, their brother, anybody. Someone they care about will be in dire straits and desperate need, and they will say, I don't care. I'm going out. Every man for themselves. That's what they'll do. We're already starting to see it. The next action I think we'll see from Italy, because they've already deployed police, is going to be more of a militaristic response, which will then result in what we've seen in the Arab Spring and other countries. The police and the military will come out. They'll try and quell the uprising and the unrest, but hungry people have nothing to lose. It's at that point, kill or be killed, basically. And then you'll get a revolution. And in that revolution, you will get many dead, many infected, and the stores will collapse, and it will be worse than you could possibly imagine. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm not trying to make a prediction saying that will happen. What I am telling you is Dr. Fauci just told us it's going to get a lot worse. The Surgeon General said it's going to get a lot worse. We have numerous stories saying that the stimulus package will not be enough. There's already talk of another stimulus package, and I don't know if that'll be enough either. After 3 stimulus packages, Congress is already preparing phase 4. We just dumped, what, $6 trillion into the economy? You realize that's only going to go so far. You know what happens when we just print money like crazy? Rapid inflation. We are going to end up in a Venezuela situation, but what's the alternative? This is the challenge. By locking down the economy, people won't eat. We see what happens in Italy. So we can have the entire society break down and collapse. The alternative is also scary. Open things back up, the coronavirus spreads and infects hundreds of thousands of people. Hundreds of thousands of people die, it infects millions of people. What do? I don't know. I don't think anybody wants to be the person to say, let them eat cake or whatever. No, nobody wants to accept responsibility that a hard decision will have to be made. The economy may have to open up, but perhaps there's a happy medium. Perhaps we can slowly start reopening certain stores with skeleton crew staff, younger people. Some have suggested isolating immunocompromised people and the elderly, and then starting, the economy back up. They want to dismiss Trump, but the stimulus won't be enough, and Trump is right that the cure could be worse than the disease itself. The reality may be we are going to get a really bad situation no matter what we do. So what's the least harm? If Trump had suspended travel in January, they would have screamed, like for everybody, I mean. If Trump said in January, everyone in the U.S. shelter in place for 2 weeks so we don't catch this thing. You'd have to do it longer than that because Italy is still infected. There's still the potential. But let's just say, at the beginning of February, Trump was like, we're closing our borders down completely and everyone must shelter in place until this thing ends. They would call him a dictator. They would call him a fascist, and they would riot and revolt. So Trump doesn't do that, but he does roll out the coronavirus task force and other protective measures. And now it's too late. Now, when Trump is talking about quarantining the New York Metro, people say it's too late. You should have done it 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, it wasn't that bad. If he did, they would have screamed in his face. Now that it's too late, they say you should have done it 2 weeks ago. There's no answer. No matter what Trump does, it will be wrong. So what do? Pick one. Collapse the economy, social unrest, revolution, or the virus gets a lot of people sick and they die. No one wants to be the person to make the decision. It's like the trolley problem. You're familiar with this? You've got one person here, you got 5 people there. The train is headed for the 5. You can save them, but you got to pull the lever to kill that one person. That's the trolley problem. Nobody wants to pull the lever. And that's my understanding is most people wouldn't do it. So you back away and say, I will not take an action that will hurt one person, even if our train is heading right off the cliff. I'll put it another way. If the economic collapse and the massive pumping out of cash into our economy is one side of the track, and that's where we're going, that's not 5 people on the track. That's the entire train we're on about to fly off the cliff. But if you pull the lever, there are people on the other track, and the train would move and it would kill all of them, many of them, and the train would make it. Nobody wants to make the call. I don't know if it's the right call or not. I don't know if my depiction of things is accurate, and that's the problem. No one knows which track they're actually looking at. Are we on the one that's going to run off the cliff, or are we on the one that's just going to hurt a lot of people? I think the economic collapse will be worse. Keep your eyes on Italy, because they're a couple of weeks ahead of us. And I'll say it again, I know we're not the same, but we are very similar. How long until someone in the U.S. says, my kid needs food, out of my way? How long until someone says, my mother is begging me, she's starving, out of my way? And then how long until we see cops come out? In Rhode Island, they're going door to door. Keep it in mind. I'll see you all at 4 p.m., youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out.